Hey, what is up, card fighters? BEOTCG here, and honestly, despite like my initial standoffishness about playing this deck, I think besides Bafsagra and like Gravidia, this had to be like and Thegria. Like I've been enjoying like a lot of the decks that I've been playing lately. Just the different slightly off meta picks or like just a great change of pace, in my personal opinion. Decks that can still compete, but don't see as much of the limelight. And this is a perfect example of one of them. Now, before we start deck profile, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We are very close to 1K, closer than one might think. And we're doing a giant playmat giveaway when we do reach 1K. We're giving out a bunch of our channel playmat. If you don't know what that is, when you do subscribe, you can check out the channel, and it is our channel banner. But getting onto the profile here, regular ROROWA ride line, there's no reason not to. You gain so many benefits from just like keeping the original glitter ROROWA ride line. Getting onto your important main deck engine pieces, and you do have like room for non-engine cards that really mesh so well cohesively with the strategy. But getting onto it, we have Uchi. How's that glare? Actually, that glare is not that. Oh, it's really bad right there. Yeah, the glare's. Ooh, you know what? We're just gonna put you right here, Bucko. Yeah, we're gonna put you right here. 4 copies of the new ROROWA, Flash ROROWA. There's no reason not to. He gives himself a crit. He gives you draws from the 2 tokens he produces when you sack them. He buffs up your Momoke token, activates Persona Ride. Like, there's no reason not to. You need to run him at 4, because until we get that one promo, we don't have a way of searching him at all. So, you really need to hard see this card. And that's like the one caveat I would say about playing this deck is, besides the set order that can actually hard search your Raidlinas, everything else in the deck, you need to hard draw it for you to be able to see it. And that's why we're running so many cards that say, draw a card. And then 4 copies of Resolute Eyes. It buffs up your tokens in the back row for every Resolute Eyes in the order zone. And it searches Raidlinas, whether they be the grade 2 or grade 3, which is very helpful for the strategy. And yeah, like it helps you see your pieces. So you really do want to max this out at 4. You do ideally want to resolve this at least once for the buff. Because the buff actually does matter. If you don't have that back row buff, it's really hard to hit certain number thresholds. And then getting into the rest of the key cards, there's a lot of them. 4 copies of Grade 3 Raidlina. She's what enables your 5th attack after you attack with your on-board Raidlina, which is more often not going to be your Grade 2 Raidlina. She's what's like the easiest way for you to summon out your Momoke token. For you to be able to have a Momoke token for free, essentially, off the Grade 3 Raidlina, she basically has to live an entire turn, and then at the beginning of your main phase, you can create a Momoke token. But, like I was saying, sorry, I got distracted a little bit there. Like I was saying, these are just very important cohesive pieces of the deck. So these are very important to max out on any ROROWA deck. Like, essentially, the rest of these cards can be kind of whatever you want to just supplement what your deck is trying to do and, like, kind of seal up the cracks of where your deck might be weaker at. But, yeah, like, these are the cards that you kind of do have to max out at 4 when you are building a ROROWA strategy. Now, a card that we are teching in, which can be considered an engine piece because it really only works with the ROROWA strategy, is 2 copies of the Hunter Elf. I was calling it Sniper Elf in my in my commentary videos, but 2 copies of Hunter Elf. This is really cool because it lets you recur your grade 2 Raidlinas from the drop zone, because more often than not, your Raidlinas are going to be targeted by your opponent because they know your whole deck revolves around them being on board. So they're just very easy attack targets / snipe targets of your deck. And it also produces a token if you have Raidlina and a ROROWA Vanguard. It produces a plant token at the beginning of your battle phase. But it's something that I found, like, it's nice to have the option as a 2 of, but I wouldn't play, like, more than 2. Like, I've resolved its effect, like, maybe once per game, and I feel like that was enough. Or there was times where I didn't even resolve its first effect. I would call it to board just because it produces a plant token for free. And then another supplemental engine card that I've actually really liked on my my turn 4 and turn 5 plays is 3 copies of Pollinator Reflucius. Now, what she does is, when she's a 9K, but when you call her, it's CB1, create 2 plant tokens. This is really good when you do ride a Flash ROROWA, because you don't have the ability of OG ROROWA to just create 3 plant tokens. You're only making 2, which you're going to feed to your Momoke token. So it's just really good follow-up. After you've sacked your 2, you get to draw a couple cards, and then you play Pollinator to, like, basically repopulate your board. And those tokens can be used defensively when you ride back down into OG ROROWA. So I really liked her at 3. There are times where, like, I just don't have a place for her. So she's mainly discard fodder in the early, or just kind of like, yeah, just basically discard fodder in the early. Or sometimes she just kind of like rots in the hand. But I do like her for that specific scenario. But this 3 of slot can actually just be anything that you want it to be in this deck. Another non-engine card that really supplements the deck very well is 4 copies of the Mushroom Brothers. It feeds your soul, which you eat soul very fast in this deck. Your OG ROROWA requires a soul. Grade 2 Raidlina requires a soul every time she attacks. This guy, the Elf Hunter, actually requires a soul for his first ability to recur Raidlina from the drop zone, or recur a grade 2 or less rearguard from the drop zone to the board. So yeah, it's a very soul heavy strategy. So having Barrel Mushrooms that creates a soul and creates plant tokens at the same time is just very cohesively melds well with the deck. Even though necessarily this wasn't created for Aurora, it was created for Granfia, because you obviously don't get the full benefits of it. But it's just very good. And it helps what the deck wants to do, is just play as early and as fast as possible. And then 4 copies of this really cool grade 1 that came out in set 12 is Yolanda. Now, at first, when this card came out, I was like, man, this is like a really good card, but I don't see a cohesive deck or strategy that can, like, abuse her. And I wouldn't say that you abuse her, but you have a really great way of utilizing her. To whereas I mainly use this card to help me find my pieces because of the draw, while, like, you're still hitting very good numbers at the same time. Because she's on boost, sack 2 grade 1 or less other rear guards, and it gets 10k and you get to draw a card. And this works really well on turns, like your first grade 3 turn. Like, let's say you're going first, which ideally you still do want to go first with this deck, even though you can't do your 5th attack with your grade 3 Raylina if your opponent's not grade 3 or greater. But you still do want to go first. Riding up first is still, like, very powerful in this format, in my personal opinion. But you want, like, there's a play that you can make to whereas you swing with your Momoke token, then you swing with Raidlina, and then you swing whatever's boosted by this. You kill the Momoke token and another token in the back row, and you essentially get to draw a card. And you can really only make this play if during your first grade 3 turn, you can really only make this play on your first grade 3 turn, or you don't have your grade 3 Raidlina in hand to essentially get a fresh draw. And it's so easy to make a Momoke token in this deck that retiring it doesn't really feel as bad. Or, like, sometimes I'll use them defensively with OG ROROWA's defensive ability. And then getting on to our last of our grade 1s, 1 copy of the green cat for Stoicheia. Now, the only reason why we're playing this, I don't think this is a good card. I just think this deck has a very good way of utilizing it, is that you really like that Soul Charge 2 give a unit 5k ability when called, and it's a 20k shield nonetheless. That you can't play 2 of them because you can only really resolve it once, because you'll always need 1 copy of OG. But yeah, I really like it as a good one. Of technically, like these 3 cards and this can be basically whatever you want. But I felt really good about the Yolandas, and I felt really good about the Mushroom Brothers. Now there were times where like I already had my pieces, and Yolanda was basically like a pitch fodder or like a guard fodder. But it's like one of those cards where like if you're not already set up, it helps you kind of like get there. If you guys understand that at all. 3 DPGs and then 1 Blitz Order PG. This is going to come up even more now that the 2 new Stride decks, which are coming out this week. Friday, I believe. And yeah, like it's just kind of like an auto include now, not just for Jejeweled or like the fringe Jiva player, but like the Stride deck matchups that you are going to have in the future. For the Overtrigger, we're playing the Plant Overtrigger. It just makes sense. You have a really great way of utilizing it in this deck, and if you ever do pull off the Plant Overtrigger and you give 100 million to the Momoke token, essentially, if you're fully set up and your opponent's grade 3 or greater, you could swing 100 million plus with the Momoke token, swing grade 2 Raylina, 100 million plus, and then sack those 2, call out grade 3 Raylina, and it copies the Momoke token's power, or increases her power by the Momoke token's power, whereas you get to swing again for 100 million plus. I know you could do that with any OT, but the Omni Trigger effect is really helpful in this deck, because again, you like the reason that we're playing all these extra, not all these extra draw cards, but we're playing the extra drawing is because we don't have a guaranteed way of seeing our core pieces outside of Ephemeral Eyes. So we want to give ourselves the best chance possible to be able to draw into them. 4 effect draw triggers for those exact same reasons. 4 effect critical triggers. This is a very soul heavy deck, so it's one of those situations where better have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. 3 regular vanilla crits. This could be 8 crit if you really wanted to, but I really like the 4 draws. And then 4 vanilla heals. They can be effect heals if you really want them to be effect heals. Effect heals just haven't worked for me in the past, so I'm just a big fan of regular heals. But yeah, that is my ROROWA deck profile, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me your thought about the deck down below, and don't forget, we're always going to have that DECKLOG/deck code in the description of all our deck profile videos. So if you ever check out on any of my past deck profile videos, the more recent ones in the past months will always have that. That's like the first thing you'll see, which is a screenshot or the straight up code of the deck log for this said deck. And you can check out the commentated match videos that we have been posting up this entire week of this said deck performing at Versus Locals. Shout out to Versus Gaming's Locals in Oviedo Mall. You could watch me play and explain my plays with this deck. But anyways, guys, y'all have a great night. Later.